Hey, welcome to the Summit Host Hangout podcast, where you'll learn how to host a high converting virtual summit that leads to your biggest signature offer launch yet. I'm your host, Krista from Summit in a Box, and I have an episode I'm really excited about today where I am sharing 8 takeaways from hosting our Membership Momentum Virtual Summit. And I'm extra excited about it still because it just ended. So I'm recording this months before the episode will go live. Our All Access Passes cart is still open and everything. The momentum is still high. I wanted to come in and get this recording done when I still had all the fresh stuff to share with you, right? Before I have time to forget it all, lose the energy, all that good stuff. So I'm going to share my top takeaways, and I hope it's a fun one for you. I will say that I know you probably want to hear all the details, right? How did it go? What was your strategy? What are the numbers? What are the conversion rates? All that good stuff. I decided, it's probably been a couple years ago now, that I don't share that stuff publicly anymore. I don't want other people to base their results on mine. I also don't want the pressure of knowing when I'm doing something that I'm going to have to share the results with everybody. There's already enough pressure on me, especially with summits, to perform well, right? Because I'm the summit person. Everything I do is supposed to be perfect. I already have that pressure. I don't also need the pressure of knowing that I have to share the numbers with everyone. So those kinds of details are only shared with our clients in the Launch with the Summit Accelerator. So if you want to learn the strategies, learn what worked, what didn't, what the numbers look like, and how you can do it for your business, DM me about joining the accelerator. You can DM me on Instagram. You can email me. You can also go to summitinbox.co/apply. But in this episode, we're just going to dive into those takeaways, but this is going to be really fun as well. So let's get into that. My first takeaway I wanted to share that I was really excited to see was that B2B summits can still be done well. And I don't honestly know if the thought, the rumor, the myth that B2B summits don't work anymore came from other people or if it came from me, to be honest. I have heard for years at this point, summits don't work, summits are overdone. Really? Do you still think these things work? I've heard that. But I'm wondering if it was actually me putting out kind of the thought that B2B summits don't work as well as B2C. And I proved that wrong with this event. What I didn't prove wrong is kind of like the reasoning I would give that B2B events are tough. And that is positioning is key. You can't go host a summit for business owners with positioning that has been done a million times before. You will really struggle to help business owners grow their business, even helping course creators make more sales. Like we see that all the time. It's really hard to stand out and host an awesome summit in that niche. You can do it. You got to do it with realistic expectations though, right? You have to know that it's not going to be a 10,000 person event. It might be between 1,000 and 2,000 people. Like you have to have the right expectations. But what I proved to myself with this event is that strategic positioning and a well-done event works really well. Our conversion rates across the board blew my expectations away. We got such incredible feedback. We got feedback from people saying, wow, I didn't even think I liked summits, but this was an incredible experience. And that's what we're going for. That's what we help our clients with every single day. But it was a really good refresher for me to see that it's still possible with B2B. And with the B2B audience we went with, like membership site owners, I was like, this is really broad. I don't actually know if this is going to work well. But I think because of, the caliber we did the event at, like everything went really great. So if you run a B2B business, that's good news. That is good news. If you have solid, unique positioning in a well put together event, you are still golden to see wonderful growth in your business, to see a wonderful immediate results and long-term results. And, doing that is something we specialize in. So I'd love to chat with you about that if it's something you want to do. My second big takeaway was that the choose your own adventure format is a lot of work. Oh my goodness. I knew it was going to be extra work. I did not know just how much. So in case you're just tuning in and you didn't see what we did at Membership Momentum, or, you don't have a membership, so you didn't sign up, you couldn't see it. The whole summit was based on this choose your own adventure format. And this is not something I ever would have recommended to a client or anything like that. My answer for them would have been like, if you're having to have people choose a path and kind of sort themselves into categories, you should probably be hosting your summit for just one of those categories. That's what I would have told anyone. And that's still what I'm going to tell people. But we decided to try something new. It's my job to experiment. It's my job to stay on quote unquote the cutting edge. You can hear I talked more about that kind of sarcastically in episode 273 that went out. That's actually just like 3 episodes ago. But this was part of that. It was part of an experiment. We did an audience survey before putting this summit together, before deciding on the positioning, to see where people are at. What did they need help with? What did they want? And we saw that the people who took that survey fit into really distinct categories, and there were 3 of them. And I knew that kind of 2 of those categories were the ones I wanted to cater to, but that people in the 3rd category were going to come anyways. So we were catering to the people who were kind of more like advanced in running a membership, not necessarily the newbies. But what we've found in previous events is that even if you cater to the people who are further along in the process, the newbies will still come because they aspire to get to the level, that you're hosting your event for. So I didn't want the newbies to come and just kind of feel totally lost and like they're flailing around like they're not welcome. So we decided to do this choose your own adventure format. So when people joined, their main call to action was take this quick 2-minute quiz to be sorted into, the right adventure, the right path for you. And it was great. And people loved it. We got such glowing feedback. I love that we did it. But it was so much work. It meant like 4 times as many emails. If you've hosted a summit before, your mind is blown just with me saying that. If you haven't hosted a summit before, let me just tell you that it's a lot. Like even just the work that went into the email sequences right after someone registered took us days to do. So, usually the email sequence that goes out once someone registers is like maybe 8 emails long. But because we had all these different paths, ours had over 50 emails and more automations than I can even tell you right now, because we needed a main sequence. So right when someone joined, they kind of went into that main sequence of emails. That if they didn't take the quiz, they just go down that path. Great, easy. But what if they took the quiz after the first email? Okay, then they need to go to, let's say, the newbie sequence. But what if they waited until like the 3rd email to take the quiz? Well, then they need to go to the 4th email in the newbie sequence. That's not an option in Kajabi. You can't just drop someone right into the middle of the sequence. So now we needed sequences for each path that started with each email. So our newbie sequence needed a sequence that started at email 2, a different one that started at email 3, a different one that started at email 4, etc. You get the point. So we had so many sequences, so many automations, so much logic that went into making that work. Our test document for this was like 100 lines long, 100 rows long in Google Sheets. It was intense. I love that we did it. I love that we experimented with it. Honestly, like I said, the card isn't even closed yet. So I'm still waiting to be able to analyze the results to be like, was it worth it numbers wise? But I would say this isn't something I would ever recommend to someone with their first event, even their first couple. This is something I would talk through very openly with like our accelerator clients where like, I think I'm ready for this. I'd be like, all right, here's what it took. So it was really interesting. I'm glad we did it. I loved it. We worked with the quiz and all that logic and stuff with Nadine from Can Do Content. She is a genius. She is so fun to work with. She was the one that made the quiz, that came up with the results and the pages and everything. She wrote all the emails for us, thank goodness. But yeah, it was a lot of work. So that was another takeaway. That was kind of like long-winded, but hopefully like interesting to hear about, especially if you were in it. I guess something else I didn't even get into was the fact that we customized then all of the summit pages based on their choose your own adventure. So they all had their separate dashboard pages with like their own schedules and own links. They all had separate all access pass sales pages and separate, there's different price points throughout, the time you host a summit. If you follow our strategy, you know this. We have fast action, early bird, full price. They all had different versions of all those pages. So it was a lot. It was a lot. Choose your own adventure is a lot of work. That's a takeaway. It was also really fun though, and people loved it. All right, next takeaway. And this is something I kind of knew, and it's not going to be news to anyone, but it just hit me differently over this last week, which is don't trust coaches who don't practice what they preach. Don't trust a copywriting coach who doesn't do copywriting anymore. Don't trust a summit coach who doesn't run summits anymore. Oh my goodness. I had got so many important reminders throughout this process. And I hosted a summit in 2022, so it's been less than 2 years since I've hosted my summit. And I know I had these same realizations last time, but it's so important for me to get the refresher of what the mindset roller coaster is like, which I'll talk about in a minute. So important for me to just remember what it all feels like, the amount of work it entails, and what you go through in putting it together. And as I was having some of these feelings, emotions, thoughts, doubts, I was in my coach's Voxer oh my gosh, do I even deserve to be coaching people with summits if I am going through these feelings right now? If I am, doubting myself, if I am struggling with this and that? And she's like, what are you even talking about? Look at the level you serve your people at, for one. But number two, you can serve them so much better getting these reminders. You can empathize with them. You can say, yeah, I went through that too. And here's what I did that worked. I couldn't do that if I wasn't going through it myself. So that was a good reminder for me that I'm a better coach because I run summits, but it was also a good reminder to me to be really weary of other people when I'm looking at, coaching in other areas to make sure they're doing what they're teaching me to do. And I would advise you to do the same. Number four, I should have flip-flopped these, right? Number four, my fourth takeaway was the emotional roller coaster of hosting a summit never goes away. And this is something like we even have lessons on this in our programs, like the emotional roller coaster of running a summit. There are so many highs throughout this process, right? Your speakers start saying yes, your initial excitement when you start planning, when you open registration and people sign up, when the sales start rolling in, when the event is going on. Like there's not much in business that beats those highs, but there are also really intense lows that go along with it. So before you send that first speaker pitch or right when you hit send, there's that like intense doubt, like, oh my gosh, is anyone going to love this as much as me? Or right before you open registration for your summit, is anyone going to sign up for this? Is this going to work? Is anyone going to buy my All Access Pass? There's this terrible time in the middle of promotion where your most excited speaker's already promoted. And the lollygaggers haven't promoted yet. They're waiting till the last minute. So no one's promoting for a few days in the middle of registration. That was the toughest time for me. I was like, oh my gosh, this isn't going to work. No one's sharing. I'm not going to hit my goals. And I did. Everything's fine. But it's such a roller coaster. And it doesn't go away. This was my 10th event for my own businesses. I've helped people with hundreds of others. But this was the 10th event hosting by myself. That roller coaster is still there. So I'm so glad I have the support I have. I have my mindset coach. I have the same support you have in the accelerator. I have Ellie. I have Kate to reach out to and be like, oh, dang, I need help with this. Or wait, this is all set up to work, right? Like you just need those reminders. No matter how experienced you are with business or in summits, you need that support. So it was a good reminder for me to like, all right, yep, the emotions we help our clients with are real. I'm feeling it. And I know how to help people better because of it now. So that was number 4. Takeaway number 5, I feel like I'm not doing a good job of making Summit sound fun. I will tell you, like, it's the best payoff ever. I am so glad we did it. I will do it again. But number 5 is that something will always go wrong. I'm looking back at my notes because like as I'm hosting these events, I'm always jotting down notes like, oh, here's a takeaway. Oh, here's something interesting I want to talk about on the podcast or teach our accelerator clients or something. And I was looking back at that and like the day we opened registration, I was like, oh my gosh, nothing went wrong. Everything was perfect. So great. Well, then day 1 of the summit happens and that's just a different story. Our tech, like nothing should have been wrong with our tech. We use Kajabi. We've been using it for years. There was nothing special going on, but of course something went wrong. Number 1 is that Kate's internet went out. So she is like my go-to, my number 1 right-hand woman. I couldn't run this business without her. And her internet goes out on day 1 of the summit. So poor Kate is anxious and scrambling and driving a half hour to a coffee shop. But then poor me, I'm like, wait, how do I answer emails again? How do I support people? And then I get a reminder of why I never go in the inbox because it gives me so much anxiety to be in there dealing with support, dealing with unhappy people. And there was one person who was unhappy that the videos didn't have like the play bar, which was just an oversight. I did not mean to leave that off and I went and added it right away. But being in that reactive mode of supporting people just set me up for anxiety all day or all week long, honestly. And it wouldn't have happened if poor Kate's internet wouldn't have gone out and if I wouldn't have forgotten to add those play bars. There was one other thing that went wrong. Oh, I duplicated our schedule page that morning to add the links to it. My idea was that it was going to make everything easier and, I could just switch the pages and boom, all the links are there. I forgot that with Kajabi, a way you can set up your buttons is that instead of saying link to this URL, it's like link to this page. So then when I switched my schedule pages, all those links broke. So there were people trying to get to the schedule page in one specific spot that would send them to a 404 instead. Those are the only things that went wrong. But it was a takeaway that something always goes wrong, even if it's this little minor thing, even if you've used your tech platform for forever, even if you've done all the testing. Something is very likely to slip through the cracks. So be prepared for that. Or maybe it's something really minor slips through the cracks and your internet goes down. It's just got to be that group, doesn't it? So anyways, another takeaway for you there. Again, I'm not doing a great job of making Summit sound fun, but I'm being transparent. I'm being honest. I want you to expect these things. I don't want you to go into a summit expecting everything to be perfect and easy and then be surprised by it. I want you to be prepared Like, I don't want you to sit waiting for something to happen, but I just want you to know that it could, and allow the brain space and time for it and have the support you need, which leads me to my sixth takeaway: have the support you need. I'm so glad I did. I had Kate. Kate's my assistant. She helped with so much throughout this event. I had Caitlin. Caitlin's my mindset coach. When people were slow to promote, and I was like, I don't know if this is going to actually work as well as I wanted it to. I was in Caitlin's box, like, oh my goodness, help me stop panicking. And then, I have Ellie, who does a lot of our coaching in the accelerator, who just made sure that this event was set up well. She was the cheerleader that I needed getting through the week. And I just think it's really important. I know a lot of people go into hosting their first summit and they haven't had a team member yet. And we do have a lot of students and clients who host a summit with no help. But I would really urge you, if you plan to have a summit with more than 2,000 attendees, get an assistant. Without Kate, I wouldn't have really had much space to enjoy the event. I wouldn't have had time to sit back and look at the reviews and testimonials rolling in and being like, oh my gosh, this is awesome. I love this so much. I would have been refreshing the inbox, responding to everything, fixing tech that didn't work and things like that. And that just takes away from so much of the experience. I don't want that for you. I want you to be able to enjoy it. So even if it's your first hire ever, get someone to help you, even if it's just during your summit and that's all. If you've put your event together well, so you'll make money, and you're expecting to have more than 2,000 people, I'd really encourage you to get a little help. And then, in the accelerator, we are helping people with their mindset during the planning process and the event itself all the time. So we'd love to support you in there as well. Okay, seventh takeaway is that the beginning of the promotion period is so much slower than it used to be. And this might be a takeaway I've shared on here before, because this isn't new. It's not like, breaking news this year, things have changed. It's been in the last year or two, though, and it was just another reminder for me this year. When I hosted my summit in 2021, we had 100 sales on day one. And in this event, we maybe had 100 or a couple hundred registrations on day one. And it used to be that a big, huge spike happened the first day that speakers could promote, and it just doesn't happen anymore. And I've seen that through our last couple events. It's a slower trickle. People are promoting, I would say, less. And they also aren't chomping at the bit like they used to be the first ones to get the emails out. They don't mind waiting till the second week or the last minute or the day of to do their first promotion. So the growth is more slow and steady than it used to be. We used to see huge spikes the day you start promoting, the day speakers start promoting, the day you do the last chance emails. But now it's just a slow and steady growth, which is probably healthier. But it's a different thing to get used to if you did host events back when there were huge spikes right at the beginning. And then my final takeaway is that, this is going to sound cheesy, but the impact you can have on your attendees and speakers is worth so much more than the revenue and the leads. And I know we need those things, right? Let's be real. We need the revenue. We need the leads to make summits make sense for our business. We can't afford to do them otherwise. But when I'm sitting here looking at the numbers on one screen and the testimonials and the kind words and the love on the other screen, the screen with the love is the one that makes me sit here and smile and want to cry and makes me want to do this over and over and over, right? It's not looking at the numbers. The numbers are great. The numbers will sustain our business. The numbers will help us grow. But the impact is just what makes it almost like an addictive thing to do. Oh my gosh, if I can help people this much, I want to do this over and over. So if you've never hosted a summit, I'm really excited for you to experience that. I know for those of you who have hosted a summit, you're yeah, I get it. It just can't be matched. It can't be beat. It's such a great feeling to see something you've worked months for pay off, not only for you, but for the people you created it for. It's just so cool. And I never have gotten feedback that fast from our programs. I'll have people join our program and be like, oh my gosh, you've thought of everything. This is incredible. But it takes longer to see that impact. Whereas with the summit, they're seeing it from day one, presentations releasing, and it's just so great. So those are my 8 takeaways. I hope they were fun to listen to. I didn't have much of an outline, so I probably rambled more than usual, but hopefully that's all right with you. But yeah, it was a great event. I'm so glad we hosted it. It's one I definitely want to do again. And I hope these takeaways give you a realistic look at what it's like to host a summit, but also make you interested in doing it. So thank you so much for tuning in. For show notes and resources from this episode, head to the link in the episode description wherever you're listening. if you are interested in Membership Momentum and you missed it, you want to buy the replays, they're currently available at membershipmomentum.co, not .com, .co. You can go ahead and grab them there. And if you would like our support in working your way through takeaways like these and hosting a gold standard summit, head to summitindabox.co/apply and get your application in for our Launch with a Summit Accelerator program. We'd love to support you in there. We're supporting clients and hosting summits like these all the time, and I would love to chat with you about it as well. In the next episode, I'm bringing on a special guest to talk about customer service without the headache for virtual summits. And we actually put some of the things we talked about with this guest into place in Membership Momentum. So I didn't get to talk to her about it there because we already had it recorded, but it was really cool to test some of those things out, and it all went great. So if you've hosted a summit before, you know this one's a must listen. So be sure to stay tuned for that. Now go out and take action to plan, strategize, and launch your high converting virtual summit.